My sister stood on the porch of our family home, tossing a crisp white envelope at my feet like she was throwing scraps to a stray dog. Inside was a $1,000 gift card and a note that read, "Thanks for playing, but the real family takes it from here." Because I was adopted, she thought she could legally erase my existence, claim my late parents' entire estate, and cast me out onto the street with pocket change. My lawyer begged me to fight, but I just smiled, picked up the card, and walked away. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind to grief. They didn't realize I was playing a much longer game. 2 days later, my sister was hosting a massive victory party in our parents' living room when her phone rang. It was the bank. And the look of absolute horror that washed over her face was worth every single penny. My name is Chloe, and at 27 years old, I learned exactly what a lifetime of family loyalty was worth to the people who claimed to love me. The funeral flowers for my parents hadn't even begun to wilt when my older sister, Vanessa, decided it was time to purge me from the family tree. I was adopted when I was just 2 weeks old. Our parents, blessing their souls, never made me feel like an outsider. To them, I was just their youngest daughter, the one who stayed behind to help manage the family textile business while Vanessa chased a lavish lifestyle in New York. But to Vanessa, I was always a squatter in her kingdom, an interloper who didn't belong in the bloodline. When the sudden car accident took both of our parents from us, the grief nearly paralyzed me. I spent weeks in a daze, barely able to breathe, let alone think about money or properties. Vanessa, however, arrived at the house with laser-focused precision. She didn't cry, she calculated. She wore her mourning black like a designer fashion statement, her sharp, dark eyes scanning our parents' beautiful historic estate with the cold hunger of a landlord ready to evict a tenant. As we sat in the quiet living room, she looked right through me, her voice dropping all pretense of sisterly warmth. "Let's be realistic, Chloe," she said, smoothing down her perfectly tailored skirt. "You've had a nice run here, but you aren't really a Whittaker. It's time for the real family to take what's theirs." Vanessa didn't just want the house. She wanted to completely humiliate me. The very next morning, I found my packed suitcases sitting out on the gravel driveway. Standing on the porch, her hands resting casually on her hips, she looked down at me with a smirk that made my blood run cold. She didn't say a word at first. Instead, she reached into her designer purse, pulled out a crisp, white envelope, and tossed it carelessly at my feet. "Thanks for playing, Chloe," she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "But the real family takes it from here. Consider that a parting gift to help you find a cheap apartment somewhere far away from my property." I picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside was a $1,000 retail gift card, accompanied by a typed, legal eviction notice. She honestly believed that 27 years of my life, my love for our parents, and my dedication to the family could be paid off with a piece of plastic. I looked up at her, my heart hammering against my ribs, but I kept my face entirely blank. I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Before I tell you what I did next, I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. Vanessa thought she had completely broken me. She expected me to scream, to beg, or to collapse in tears on the driveway. But as I stared at that ridiculous gift card, something shifted inside me. I simply tucked the envelope into my jacket, looked her dead in the eye, and smiled. An hour later, I was sitting in the prestigious downtown offices of Arthur Pendleton, the attorney who had managed my parents' estate for nearly 30 years. Arthur was pacing behind his heavy mahogany desk, his face flushed with an equal mix of confusion and absolute outrage. He looked at me, then down at the eviction paperwork I had laid out between us, shaking his head in utter disbelief. "Chloe, this is absolute madness," he said, slamming his hand down on the desk. "The will Vanessa is presenting is a draft from 15 years ago, before your parents restructured their assets. I am begging you to let me fight this. We can contest it today, freeze probate, and block her from entering the property." He was practically pleading with me to let him unleash a legal war. He knew how hard I had worked for the family, and he knew Vanessa's sudden hostile takeover was a moral atrocity. But I just sat there, completely calm, watching the city traffic move far below the office window. "If I fight her, Arthur, how long will it take?" I asked quietly. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Months. Maybe years of brutal court battles and exhausting depositions. It will drain you completely." I looked at the paperwork, then back at Arthur. "Draft the release forms," I said, my voice steady. "I'm going to sign everything over to her today." Arthur blinked, staring at me like I had completely lost my mind to grief. "You're walking away from millions, Chloe. Why?" I just smiled softly, picked up his pen, and said, "Because sometimes, giving someone exactly what they want is the best way to destroy them." Arthur didn't understand my compliance, but he didn't know about the heavy iron key resting at the very bottom of my purse. 2 weeks before the accident, my father had called me into his private study. He looked exhausted, carrying a heavy burden he hadn't yet shared with the family. He handed me the key and told me that if anything ever happened to him, I was to go straight to the secure storage unit he kept under a false name on the edge of town. He told me the truth would be waiting for me there, hidden safely away from Vanessa's prying eyes. After leaving Arthur's office, I drove straight to that dusty unit. Inside a heavy steel lockbox, I found a leather-bound secret ledger alongside a stack of recent, certified mortgage documents. As I flipped through the handwritten pages, the dark reality of my family dynamics finally came into focus. My parents weren't blind to Vanessa's true nature. The ledger contained meticulous records, bank alerts, and printed emails proving that over the last 3 years, Vanessa had been systematically embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars from the family textile business to fund her failing lifestyle in New York. She had forged our father's signature on corporate checks, thinking he was too old to notice the missing funds. Tucked into the very back of the ledger was a personal letter addressed to me in my father's familiar, elegant handwriting. "My dearest Chloe," it read, "if you are reading this, Vanessa has shown her true colors. She thinks she is entitled to everything because of her bloodline, but she has already stolen her inheritance. Do not fight her for the house, my sweet girl. Let her take it. Let her think she has won." As I read further into my father's letter, the brilliant, calculated trap he had set for Vanessa began to unfold. My parents hadn't just sat back and let her steal from them. They had used her greed to seal her financial fate. The recent mortgage documents in the lockbox revealed that just 4 months prior to the accident, my father had heavily leveraged the family estate. He had taken out massive high-interest loans against the mansion and the textile business, effectively extracting all the liquid equity out of the properties. Vanessa thought she was inheriting a debt-free, multi-million-dollar empire, but she was actually inheriting a hollow shell. The house was burdened with a $1.5 million mortgage, and the business owed nearly $800,000 to aggressive corporate creditors. But the money hadn't vanished. My father's letter explained that every single dollar from those loans had been quietly transferred into an offshore, bulletproof trust fund established solely under my legal name. Because I was adopted, Vanessa believed I had no right to the family legacy, completely unaware that our parents had intentionally legally insulated me from the financial storm that was about to hit her. The letter concluded with a chilling warning. The mortgages transfer automatically to whoever claims the primary estate. Vanessa will have exactly 30 days to refinance the debt or face immediate, automatic foreclosure. Given her disastrous credit history and her existing debts in New York, no reputable bank will ever touch her. Vanessa had sacrificed her humanity to steal a mansion, completely blind to the fact that she had just eagerly signed her own financial death warrant, while I walked away with millions. 2 days after I signed the final release papers, Vanessa threw a lavish victory party at the estate to celebrate her new status as the sole heir. She invited our parents' wealthy associates, high-profile friends, and local socialites to flaunt her newfound kingdom. From a distance, I watched the updates flood social media. Vanessa was drinking champagne in our mother's favorite room, wearing her jewelry, and bragging about finally purging the outsider from the family legacy. But the clock my father set was ticking loudly. Right at the peak of the celebration, as Vanessa stood in the center of the crowded living room raising a toast to her future, her phone began to buzz aggressively. It was a restricted number from the primary lien holder's executive foreclosure division. Thinking it was just a routine call to congratulate the new owner, she answered it on speakerphone near the sound system so her friends could hear her handle business. The voice on the other end was icy and direct. The bank official informed her that due to the transfer of the estate, the immediate acceleration clause on the $1.5 million mortgage had been triggered. Furthermore, because of her massive outstanding debts in New York, her application to assume the loan had been officially denied. The bank was initiating immediate foreclosure proceedings on the mansion, and fraud investigators were already reviewing the business accounts. The music stopped instantly. The room went dead silent as Vanessa's glass shattered on the hardwood floor, the color draining from her face as she realized her prize was a trap. The fallout was absolute. Within 3 months, the bank seized the mansion, and the textile business dissolved under the weight of the debts Vanessa had eagerly claimed. She was forced to declare bankruptcy, her reputation ruined, and she now works a low-paying retail job back in New York to pay off her creditors. Meanwhile, I used my trust fund to build a beautiful life, completely free from her toxicity. I bought a quiet home by the coast and started my own independent business, honoring our parents' true legacy of hard work and love. Now, I'm curious about you who listened to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you have fought her in court, or let the trap snap shut?